All right, good morning guys. Sorry I couldn't be there today, but have no fear. I made this little video for you just to kind of point out a few things that I want you to pay extra close attention to so you're prepared for the quiz tomorrow. So we're going to start with worksheet 1, number 1. The first thing I want you guys to make sure you understand is the difference between altitudes and perpendicular bisectors. So perpendicular bisector, by definition, has to be perpendicular to and bisect each of the sides. So when we draw the perpendicular bisectors, they do not have to go through the vertex. The only point that we have for each of these perpendicular bisectors is the midpoint of each of the sides. They do not, again, perpendicular bisectors do not have to go through the vertex. Okay, that's different than an altitude. An altitude must start at a vertex and go perpendicular to the opposite side. Oh, that was not very pretty. So just make sure you guys understand that and you're looking at that on your quiz and all of your homework assignments, that altitudes have to start at a vertex and go perpendicular to the opposite side, where perpendicular bisectors do not have to start at a vertex. Okay. Also, number 2, you're going to see questions just like this on worksheet 2 and also on your quiz and test. So make sure you guys are checking your notes. We drew all of these in our notes, and I want you to pay extra close attention to the obtuse triangle, especially when you're drawing in all 3 altitudes and finding the orthocenter. That one is a little bit more involved, so you want to make sure you pay attention. Okay, so the next one I want to look at is numbers 4, 5, and 6, just because they talk about the centroid. And remember, the centroid is an intersection of all of the medians. So they may not tell you their medians, but when they use the word centroid and they tell you that H is the centroid, then you know that they're all medians. So because of that, A would be the midpoint of MN, and we can use the proportions that the portion of the median that it goes from midpoint to centroid, we could call X, and the portion that goes from vertex to centroid we can call 2X, which would mean the whole median would be 3X units long. So then you can set up equations using those proportions. All right, so half of the quiz is going to be applying the definitions of all these different segments and drawing them, and the other half will be writing the equations. Now, for the quiz, it will look very similar to number 7. It will give you the steps to follow. It will give you the grid where you have to plot the triangle and show all your work and all that good stuff. So it'll be a nice, hopefully easier for you for the quiz, since I am basically telling you what to do in the correct order. So hopefully that'll help you out. All right, so really quickly, let's go through how to write the equation of the perpendicular bisector. All right, so we have our slope of -3/5. So that's the slope of the blue line AC, not the slope of our line. But since the blue line and our line are perpendicular, our slope will be the opposite reciprocal, or 5/3. So we want the opposite reciprocal of -3/5. So now we have the 2 pieces of information that we need in order to write the equation of our line. So if you plug it in point slope form, you could set up your skeleton first, and then plug in that our slope is 5/3, and the point is -3, -1. So when you plug that in, it'll be +1, +3. So all we have to do to solve, since it wants it in slope-intercept form, we have to solve for y. So I'm going to distribute 5/3 and get this. So y plus 1 equals 5/3 x plus 5, and then subtract 1 from both sides. So slope-intercept form, the equation of our line is y equals 5/3 x plus 4. So hopefully that made sense, and you guys were able to do that on your own. So we have how to write the equation of a perpendicular bisector. Okay, so the next problem is the median. So by definition, the median goes from the vertex to the midpoint. And like we talked about yesterday, the vertex and the midpoint are both points. So once we get the point values for both of those, we're just going to follow the same strategy we would if we were writing the equation of a line given 2 points. Okay, so I want us to write the the median from C to AB. So the vertex that we're going to use is C. So that's the point we're going to use. This is our point. And the second point that we're going to use is the median of AB, the midpoint of AB. So that's why they instruct us to find the midpoint of AB first. So again, we're going to use the midpoint formula. So you do x plus x divided by 2 and y plus y divided by 2. So we have negative 10 divided by 2, which is negative 5, and then 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So we now have, right away, it didn't take us very long, we now have both of the points that we're going to use to write the equation of our line, 2, negative 4, and negative 5, 4. So this is our median. This is where the median starts and finishes. So we need to find the slope of that line. So the 2 points we're going to use are 2, negative 4 and negative 5, 4. So to find the slope, we're going to do y minus y over x minus x. So you get negative 8 over positive 7. All right, so there's our slope. And all we have to do now is just choose one of the points. It doesn't matter which point you choose. You're just going to plug it in. I'm just going to leave my answer in point slope form, even though it says slope intercept, because I trust you guys can convert. So I'm going to use the vertex. I always recommend using the vertex when you plug it into point slope form. And that would be the equation of the median. Okay, so that's worksheet 1. I hope I answered most of your questions and clarified some things you were struggling with. Your homework is worksheet 2. This is your review worksheet, and this is what you need to work on in class and finish for homework. The answers are posted on Schoology as always, but I did want to, again, point out a few things you guys should pay close attention to. So the first thing is numbers 1, 2, and 3, this first set of problems where you're given a diagram, and you have to decide if what's drawn there is an altitude, an angle bisector, a median, etc. Based on what is marked in the diagram or what's given to you. So please make sure for this part you have to know your definitions for each of these terms. These are the 4 main terms that you're going to be quizzed on tomorrow. So make sure you know what their definition is, where they start, where they end, and what they do to your diagram. So pay close attention to numbers 1, 2, and 3. You will definitely see a problem like this problem for 4 through 8, where you're given a diagram with a centroid, which means they're all medians, and you have to find all of the missing lengths of all the different segments. So again, we did a problem like this in our notes. So you want to look back there, and on worksheet 1, so you want to look back at those for reference. The next one is angle bisectors. I want to talk about number 11. It says, which triangles, if any, are congruent and why? So this is a really good application to show you why last chapter, where we were proving triangles congruent, is so important. So if we apply the definition of an angle bisector, we know that these 2 angles are congruent. And the theorem of the angle bisector says that any point on the angle bisector is equidistant to the sides, which means that these are right angles. Well, if you take a look, do you see that these 2 triangles are congruent already by angle, angle, side? If we use PS as reflexive, these 2 triangles are congruent by hypotenuse, leg. So once you know triangles are congruent, you also know all of the corresponding parts are congruent. So PR and PQ are congruent, and these 2 angles are congruent. So utilize that information when you guys are going through it. It might help you through some problems. The same thing with number 14 when it asks which triangles are congruent and why. It says that ST is a perpendicular bisector of RS. If it's a perpendicular bisector, we know those are right angles. and these are congruent, but by the theorem, we also know that TS, TR, and TX are congruent. So again, by hypotenuse leg, these two triangles are congruent. So by CPCTC, we know all of these corresponding parts will be congruent as well. So utilize that again. It might provide you a little shortcut when you're working through some of your problems. All right, and the last few pages of worksheet 2 just kind of go through exactly what we just discussed. So you'll see in number 15, you're writing the equation of a perpendicular bisector again. You're doing it twice. Once in number 15, I write out all the steps and kind of walk you through. Number 16 is exactly the same. I just don't give you the steps written out. So use the steps A, B, and C. All right, so you want to use these steps again, A, B, and C, when you're doing number 16. And then number 17 has you do a median as well. Now, one thing that I want you guys to note is that on these two worksheets, there weren't any examples with writing the altitude, but you definitely want to make sure you feel comfortable writing the altitude, the equation of an altitude as well. So make sure you look back at your notes for that one. Okay, and then the last page, again, we're drawing in all of our altitudes to find the orthocenter. I would focus in on the obtuse triangle. This one tends to be the most difficult for students. But also I would practice drawing in all the medians in your triangles and all the perpendicular bisectors as well. All of those are fair game for the quiz. All right, so at this point, I just want you guys to pick up wherever you are on worksheet 2 and finish that. Check your answers on Schoology, and I will be in my room tomorrow morning at around like 7:05, 7:10. So if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to help you. All right, happy studying. See you tomorrow. Bye.